Hi guys, welcome to the Peppermint podcast. On today's podcast, we're joined by Nev and Andy, who are members of the 1980s power pop band, the Pinkees. The Pinkees had great success with appearances on Top of the Pops and having a single in the top 40 reaching number 8. We're really excited to hear their story and the journey that they've been on over the past 40 years.
Hi guys, thanks for coming on this podcast.
Our pleasure, mate.
Good to finally have you here.
You're welcome.
So how you finding life now? Lockdown's kind of gone.
Boring.
Yeah, prefer the lockdown.
No, I don't prefer it. I mean, it's nice to get out and do some gigs again, as you guys know, but that 16 month of not gigging, I mean, even at my age, it drove me crazy, so I should think you guys became...
Did you have like loads of gigs booked and stuff for like?
No, we had about 10 or 15 gigs that we had to cancel, you know, just like that. Yeah. But it wasn't just that, because I still work. I work for my son and we do advertising.
Yeah.
And so his business stopped as well, because we only worked with schools and theatres and outdoor events. So, like, the band stopped, the band work stopped, and my work stopped as well. You know.
So it all kind of was like slow
sort
motion.
of day job, yeah. It was
just unreal, really, wasn't it? Lost.
It was like a big curtain dropped, wasn't it? And
yeah. So then I decided to do my garden because I had loads of time, like everyone else in the world, and ended up having to get like 10 bags of sand every day in the car because you couldn't get deliveries of anything. You know what it's like.
Yeah. I went a bit crazy.
Like looking back on it now, the lockdown seems a bit crazy, doesn't it?
I actually went crazy after the first month. I was in the garden one day chopping up a pallet and making them into like planter boxes and thinking I've actually gone bonkers now because I would never have done that in normal days. I was just so stir crazy trying to find anything to do with my time.
That was like your hobby at the time. It was
and I thought, this is normal. This is normal, and I thought, no, it isn't.
Did you manage to avoid the lurgy?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did until New Year this year.
Oh right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had both jabs and the booster, obviously, because you know we're older, we're more sort of
we're vulnerable.
More vulnerable.
I'm very vulnerable.
Yeah, and 2 days before New Year, I just woke up feeling crap, you know. And
do you know where you kind of got it from, or?
Yeah, my granddaughter, I think.
Oh, right. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Lewis got it recently as well. Guitarist, he got it recently.
Wow.
But how did you feel?
To be honest with you, I mean, I woke up feeling a bit rough and I took the test. I thought, oh no, not just before New Year, you know what I mean? Then I left it a few hours, took the test again, and I went to bed feeling a bit rough. But the next day I woke up, I felt like I'd had a good kick in, really. Yeah. And that was it for 4 days. Even my feet were hurting.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Have you any of you guys had it?
No, touch wood.
It affects everyone differently. But
yeah, we all managed to avoid it, thankfully. Apart from Lewis, he caught it recently. Probably about, a month ago he caught it, didn't he?
It was just after New Year, wasn't it?
He had for like 10 days.
You know, I mean, I'm glad to have caught like the weaker version.
Yeah, I think
that's one bonus of it.
Grateful for that, aren't they? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fully jabbed up and I didn't get it, but it's still around there. All my kids have had it, and their partners and my grandchildren. I think, without exception, that's 5 children, 2 steps, including 2 stepchildren, 6 grandchildren. They've all had it.
So now you've got natural immunity now.
It's a carrier.
I hope so. Yeah. I've managed to avoid it, and very glad to.
Excellent. So with the Pinkees then? How did that kind of start then?
With me, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, you start. I joined a bit later, didn't I?
Yeah.
What year was this?
This was 1980. Halfway through 1980. I was doing a duo with Paul Egholm, who was like the main singer.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I'm fed up with doing this. Let's get a band. And he went, yeah, okay. Then I got hold of Paul Reynolds on drums. And then a guy called Bob Hector on bass. And a guy called Max, who was on lead guitar. He's a crazy guy, but great as a lead guitarist. Mm. And we just started doing pub gigs. But I said to him, I want to do original songs as well, because I've always written songs. That's always been my biggest sort of talent, I think, is writing songs rather than...
Just playing covers, yeah.
Yeah. Well, just getting up and doing them, really.
Sounds like you, mate.
Yeah. And Paul had the perfect voice for the sort of songs I was writing. And we just done pub gigs, and everywhere we went, it really took off. You know.
What kind of genres did you do when you're on your?
What? Sorry.
What kind of genres did you do in the pubs and stuff?
Well, we just did mainly the original stuff, wasn't it?
Mm.
And maybe 5 or 6 other stuff like some Beatles songs.
Yeah.
I can't remember the songs that we used to do, really. Can you, to be honest?
No, because I wasn't in the band then.
No.
So that would be difficult for me.
Yeah, that would be very difficult.
Is that local pubs, or are they all over like Essex or
Just
like
local pubs, Basildon mainly. I mean,
you play the Castlemaine and places like that.
yeah, Casablanca, the Flying Tildes, which used to be the Double Six, which has now been knocked down, which is like, for people of my age, is a bit legendary, really, those days, you know, because you'll never see a scene like that again. I mean, when we used to play in the Flying Tildes, we had to get there at like 6 o'clock in the evening, because if you got there at 7,
you couldn't get in.
you couldn't get anywhere near.
You
couldn't get anywhere near the pub, and it was shoulder to shoulder. It was absolutely rammed. I would love to have had some video of that, you know, from
What
that
buzz?
time.
Well, I watched a video of you guys at Basildon Town Centre, and that's
on
you don't see that anymore, do you? In Town Centre at all. That was amazing.
No, not a chav in sight.
Yeah, exactly right. And one of the comments said that. Yeah, absolutely.
The good days, eh?
Yeah. I don't know how why did we do that?
I don't
You
know.
weren't in the band.
I still
then,
have
were
to
you?
We'll come to that bit in a minute, I suppose.
It's good if you do remember, though.
I think that was something to do with Radio Basildon. Radio Basildon, like a local radio station.
So you were playing a lot of local pubs and just building up a local following.
Yeah.
Playing obviously some covers to get win the crowd over, and then chucking in your originals.
No, we started the other way. We was just doing the originals,
Okay.
and then
Putting some covers.
and then putting some covers in.
Brilliant, yeah.
But the response was really good. It was people were more impressed by bands in those days than what they are now.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. It's a lot harder now, I think, for a band to,
to make an impact.
I mean, you guys got a great following. You know, I mean, I don't know how you've done it, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean that in a personal way. I mean,
Yeah.
because it's so hard to get a following for any band.
Yeah.
Because there's just not enough places to play
I think
in.
the problem with music now is everyone's discovered on YouTube. Everyone's discovered on
Exactly.
streaming platforms, aren't they? So
Yeah.
unless you've got an album that's quality, that's out,
Yeah.
and a produced album, it's really difficult for modern bands, isn't
Yeah,
it?
no,
It's almost sort of backwards, isn't it? Sort of you release your music and then people
Well, it is,
find it,
yeah.
and then they come and see your gigs.
Yeah, because you don't get like.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
gonna
It
say-
was the other way round. You'd
Yeah.
build up a reputation playing live in the pubs in your locality, and then maybe spread out to London for us, wasn't it? I mean, we've been playing together since 75, 76
Yeah.
in different bands with the original music written by Andy. This is pre-Pinkees, so we go back to 75
Yeah.
together. And also with Max as well, who's playing
Yeah.
with us in different lineups. Yeah, and the live scene was huge,
Yeah.
you know, and every pub in Basildon had live bands. But we could move up to central London, up and down the King's Road.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
all
it was
those
a massive
Chelsea
different
area.
scene to what it is now, you know.
Yeah.
It was a big live scene.
But you got to bear in mind, there was only about 4 or 5 TV channels. Now you got like 400 or 500.
Yeah.
So
So
people
if you got on
were,
TV and stuff, it was
It was a
Big
very
thing,
big deal.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah, but not
very
only
big
that, people didn't want to stay in at night because they only had 4 channels to watch.
Yeah,
no,
big
they've
deal.
got
You-
500.
Yeah, they've got an incentive to
social
stay in.
media.
Yeah.
No social media, so you know you couldn't sit and look at your phone.
That's it.
Because it wouldn't do anything. It was just a phone.
People had to go out and
telephone.
It was just a telephone, yeah.
Yeah, I wish this phone had a screen on it.
I mean, the only place you saw those was on Star Trek, wasn't it? When they go,
Yeah, start, yeah, I lost
but we
in
thought
space.
that will never happen. Never happen.
But that's better in the sense where people had to go out and,
totally.
and enjoy
The live scene was
entertainment,
huge.
you know.
It's massive. Going out, you know, was going out.
I mean,
in
I
those
started
days, sort of.
watching
that
live
was out,
bands.
out.
That was really out
You
in
know.
those days.
I mean, watching live bands for me as a kid, I was born in Dagenham, and we had a fantastic club in Dagenham. It was based at the Roundhouse pub on the Becontree estate. Nothing to do with the Roundhouse to Camden Town. Roundhouse pub, and they had a club called the Village Blues Club. It was every Saturday night, without fail, and we saw Pink Floyd, Free,
Wow.
Deep Purple,
Wow, yeah.
I said Pink Floyd. Just everybody played there on a Saturday night. You know, and that for me that was a normal night out. I was
That was a
14,
pub.
15 when I started going, and that was a back room of a back room. It was the bingo hall of the pub. You get about 500 kids in there,
Just rammed.
rammed. You couldn't. Some nights you couldn't get in. T-Rex we saw.
You saw T-Rex?
Yeah,
Oh,
I saw
brilliant.
your version of a T-Rex song.
Get it on. Yeah.
Cosmic Dancer.
Oh,
was it?
okay, yeah, Cosmic
good,
Dancer, yeah.
good version.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
so I saw. I went to the gig there one Saturday night, and so he comes on. Mark, as I called him. Mark comes on with Steve Peregrine took on the bongos.
Yeah.
The pair of them, and then they do like a set. I think he's sitting cross-legged on a cushion.
So this is the Tyrannosaurus
This
Rex?
is Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, they do like a set, and then about a few numbers in, he says, now I said, I'm going to introduce a new song. I think it was called Ride a White Swan. He said, I'm going to change to electric guitar. And we all went, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And we were sitting down front, Mark's gone crazy. So he put down his acoustic guitar, picked up a Strat, white Strat, I think,
Yeah.
and went into that, and we all walked out.
Yeah.
We didn't like it. Oh, it's gone mad.
But a lot of people did that. He had a movement, didn't he? Because he had that
Oh,
folk
God, yeah.
following.
Dylan done that, didn't he?
Oh, big
Yeah.
time, yeah. But Dylan did. But that was our Dylan moment. It's hilarious. So we didn't see that coming with him.
So with the Pinkees, then, what was your kind of influences then?
My influence has always been the Beatles.
Beatles, yeah.
Good man.
100%.
Can't beat him.
You know, no, but
You
Well,
know.
you can't. No.
the thing is, I still think in 1,000 years' time, people will still be talking.
I agree.
Definitely,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's got a legacy, isn't it? They've got a legacy, much like
It's
Beatles.
just-
yeah.
Their biggest achievement, I mean, out of about 400 songs, there's not one song that sounds like another Beatles song. And that is, as a songwriter, that is an incredible achievement.
Another thing as well is like a band to cover their songs as well
Exactly.
is quite difficult because they're so unique. Well, I mean, we've got
Yeah.
a couple of Beatles songs, but Ryan pulls me up sometimes. Ringo didn't do it like that. It's like, okay, because people will notice it. That's the thing, you know, things like that. Or like if a harmony's not right, people will notice it because Paul's harmony's like
There's
this.
added pressure if you cover a Beatles song, I
Yeah.
find.
I think so, because they're so well known, aren't they?
Yeah. And
You know.
But I can hear that. We'll talk more about the album later, but I can definitely hear your style being influenced by the early Beatles
Yeah.
with your songwriting.
That's what
which
we
is
grew up with,
fantastic.
Jimmy, totally.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, I spent, I don't know, the first 20 years of my life just listening to the Beatles
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Really?
Great combination.
I think, but also music for us as kids and teenagers, it was much more varied. We weren't divided into such strict. I'm not saying everybody's divided into strict genres now, but it wasn't like that then. So I was into like Trojan reggae big time.
Yeah.
I was into the Beatles. I was into the Stones. I was into Led Zeppelin, and it didn't matter that none of it was like each other. I was into English folk music,
Yeah, there was just,
and it didn't matter, you know.
I mean, if you look at the music
it's a
scene in the
melody.
60s, in the early 60s,
So
when the
diverse.
Beatles, it was all about songs. It weren't so much about
Melody,
bands.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's about songs.
Well, of course, Motown, huge
Yeah.
for us as kids. Motown.
Well, we actually, you could make it, but you and I and Lewis and a few other friends, we went to Liverpool last year, just as when you could out of lockdown, just for a long weekend, and it completely gave us that inspiration to come back and write songs again. Just go to the Cavern. We've played the Cavern before, but to go there as a fan and just in the audience and hear that, so that's proper live music.
We was there
isn't
till
it?
about 3 in the morning, weren't we? And it was
Wow.
absolutely packed. It was just like...
That's a musical city, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
it was just...
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean,
lively place.
me and Neville met when we was about 18,
19.
19. You know, I mean, I'm 67 now. How old are you today? It's his birthday today.
67
Happy
today.
birthday.
67
Thank you.
today. And but our first band together, we were signed to Warner Brothers, and the managing director of Warner Brothers was Derek Taylor, who was the Beatles road
PR.
manager
I was a
Okay.
PR guy for the
and
Beatles.
PR for the.
Oh wow!
For the Beatles.
Yes.
He signed
So-
us. Yeah.
So
And he
fantastic.
actually signed us to Warner Brothers, and he knew that I was a Beatle freak. And every time we was up there in London in Warner Brothers office, he'd call me in. He said, "Come here," and he'd tell me the story about.
tell you a story, yeah.
And I used to. I was like, "Wow!" You know,
That
it's like
is
the Holy Grail,
Yeah.
you know.
He did
like,
the whole
you know,
American tour with the Beatles.
Yeah.
as well.
So he
on
was
the
in a
radio.
hotel room with the Beatles when all that Beatle mania was going on. He was with them all the time.
So you got
and-
all the stories from him.
Yeah, he told me all that, which I can't really tell you, but I can tell you later.
the
When the cameras are off, most of them.
And I was like a kid in a sweet shop, you know. I just sit there with my mouth open, listening to these incredible stories that he would tell me about the Beatles.
Oh, that's so he obviously discovered you guys. Was this the Pinkees or a different band?
No, this was a band called Glider in
Right,
the
okay.
70s. There was me, you, Neville's brother Gareth, drummer Dave Engel, guy called Dave Bronze. You might know Dave
No,
Bronze.
Dave Bronze,
Dave
yeah.
Bronze was the bass player in that band.
Yeah.
And we were young, really young, like 19. and we got a support tour with Leo Sayer, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Ah.
That's how we got our chops together.
Yeah, and that's where we done our apprenticeship really, because
Yeah.
we done all the big theatres in Britain as the support act. But that's the ground. That's the groundwork.
So when did things start getting like serious for the Pink? Well, how'd you come up with the name Pinkees?
I can't remember.
Nobody can. That's lost in the mist of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this was obviously Glider. That was the first band.
Glider was the first
yeah.
band. That was in '76, and then I went back to doing solo stuff in pubs in London, and then in 1980 I started doing a duo with Paul Legarm, and then we formed the Pinkees.
We'd all gone back to our day jobs in
Yeah.
between.
Well,
And
I didn't have a job.
I was working. I think I was working in Barking, and I was a sign writer.
Yeah.
So, and this was pre-vinyl.
Yeah.
So this was still painting big letters on the side of the trucks. It was a hard day's work.
Yeah, it was.
It's a hard
And a
day's night.
steady
I was
hand.
up my ladder one day in the workshop somewhere in
Must have been
Barking
a big
Creek.
van. Why was you up a ladder?
It's a big van.
Was it?
Do you know what big vans are?
No.
Big fan. So I was up a ladder, and I heard this. It was always Radio 1 on in the workshop. And I heard this track. I thought that sounds a lot like Andy Price, and fair enough. And then it was the Pinkees being played on Radio 1. It was your first single. I thought, well, that's good.
Gonna
Good
Be
luck to
Lonely
Andy.
Again.
Yeah, Gonna Be Lonely Again. I
Yeah.
thought that sounds good. I know that guy.
He
And,
never. He thought, why the fucking hell hasn't he asked me to join the band?
I'm
what
painting signs.
That's what he
No, I've been following your progress with this intro for many years. So I knew what he was up to. And Bob Hector, great bass player. So-
Bob was a great player,
Great
but
player.
he never really wanted to go professional. And it was very difficult because I didn't want to lose Bob, but I couldn't take him with us on the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it was
He was
very
going to
difficult.
hold you back potentially.
Well, he
Not-
just didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to do the,
He didn't
the
want
touring.
Well,
And
you
that.
can't have that. can
Whereas
you?
I
Especially
couldn't
when
wait
you're
to get
professional.
down off my ladder. And,
Yeah.
but bizarrely, and so I went home, told my then wife, I said, I think Andy's got a single on Radio 1. And she said, really? And blah, blah, blah. And anyway, 2 days later, the phone rings. It's Andy. Oh, yeah, Nev. We've got a single on Radio 1. I said, yeah, I heard it. It sounds great. He said, would you like to come along with a view to joining the band? And so the first time I saw the band was at Regent Studio in Piccadilly, Regent Street, the BBC studio.
Oh, the
You were
BBC
doing
in concert.
live show for Radio 1 in concert.
Yeah.
So I trolled along there, sat in the audience, and there was the Pinkees.
Yeah.
First time I'd ever seen them playing a Radio 1 live concert. So they'd record
What a buzz
45-minute
that must have
session.
been.
Wow.
And they
Yeah, that
were really
was
tight,
great.
really good. I thought, well, I could do that. It's
I
gonna
mean,
take
I've
me a
got to
while
be
learn
honest.
it, but
I'll
yeah.
join
The
that band.
Pinkees
That's-
were
that
really
was me in.
tight,
Yeah.
really tight.
They were.
'Cause we'd done so many gigs,
Yeah.
like before we got signed. You know, before
Yeah, you
we,
were 2 years into the
we were like
live
2
band.
years into being a band, and I'm talking about like 3-4 gigs a week. You know, and that's a lot of gigs.
It's
you know.
grafting, isn't it? And
Yeah.
and
But
dedication.
that's where you learn. That's where you learn. You know,
I suppose that's
that's
you're
where the
probably
band
lugging your
gets
own
good.
gear around as well.
I mean,
Oh,
you
I
know,
know that,
you know, nowadays you're lucky if you get one gig a week.
yeah.
But we used to do 3 or 4 gigs a week.
Yeah, 'cause some pubs don't really do music
No, they
during
don't.
the week, do
No,
they?
it's
It's
not.
all weekend stuff, isn't
Exactly, but no, we used to do, you know, so many gigs, and we were so tight.
it? I bet you had a good crowd as well, though. Like even at them gigs during the week. 'Cause if you go
We
to a
did,
pub gig
yeah.
in the week now, it's dead, isn't it? Because everyone's got work in the morning. That's what it's like, isn't it now?
Yeah.
But how did you get discovered? So obviously with the Pinkees, and how was you signed? How
Yeah,
did
when
it
the
work?
song-
Right,
getting
it was
serious and
Keith
stuff.
Bonza, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Keith Bonsoir.
Local promoter and DJ.
Yeah, he was a DJ down Rack Hills, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Do you remember?
Tops
Do you know
as well.
Rack Hills?
I know of it. That's
And
Legendary.
the Essex Boys
venue.
yeah,
legacy.
and Tots, like
Tots
talking
down
to the
South
south.
End and-
But he
Yeah.
was a top Essex DJ
Yeah.
in the clubs and that. And he saw us and he said, "I really think I can help you guys." So we went, "Okay." Just as simple as that. And he knew a few people he knew a guy called Bruce White who ran a company called Creole Records.
Right.
And they had quite a bit of success with various artists. And that's basically how we started.
So that was your foot in the door kind of thing.
Yeah, and we signed with Creole, and then we it all moved on from there. Really.
Did you record the album while you were signed, or was that recorded before?
No, we recorded the album when we were signed.
So where did you record
And
that?
Paul produced it, didn't Paul?
Keith produced
it. He was
that was recorded in 5 days.
Because Keith done some vocals on it as well, didn't he? And some instrumentation on it.
He done some instrumentation.
piano, didn't he?
I don't think he done any vocals on it. I can't
I
remember.
don't think he did vocals. No, Keith played any keyboard parts.
Right.
Yeah, that was Keith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't think.
But
he did
the whole
any
thing was
vocals.
done in 5 days.
Where was it recorded?
In 2 studios. You'll know this because I don't remember. One of them was the old Smithy, was it?
Help me. Well, I definitely wasn't on the first single because I was up my ladder.
Yeah,
Wasn't me.
that's right.
That was Bob Hector.
I can't remember the studio. I mean, it'll be on the album cover, but I can't remember it. But all I remember about that studio is a absolutely fantastic fish and chip shop round the corner in Palmer's Green. It was the studio.
That was it. Palmer's Green.
Somewhere in Palmer's Green, and the other studio was the old Smithy, wasn't it?
Wasn't that in Oxfordshire or something?
Oh, I can't remember. You got to remember, this is 42 years ago.
Just a few years ago.
You know?
So with that recording experience, then was that kind of back then? Did they do multi-tracking, or was it all set mic up in the room and you all play together?
Well, most of it was recorded live and just vocal overdubs, wasn't it? Most of it was. So that made
For
it.
speed, really. For speed.
So you had to be really tight to go in the
yeah,
studio.
and like you said, you've had the practice.
We were tight though, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the engineer was saying, "Christ, you guys really have got it together," you know.
Yeah.
But we used to, you know, just play a track live and then put the vocals on afterwards,
Yeah.
and then, you know,
Tweak a few little bits and pieces, yeah. I mean, that's great. I mean, what I like about the sound, obviously I can hear the Beatle influences and bits and pieces, and Paul Egarm as well had that John Lennon voice.
Oh wow! So such a fantastic
Yeah.
voice.
That's what I noticed when I listened to it. I was like, blimey, that guy really sounds like John Lennon.
Yeah.
I was just,
And he
But
wasn't
we could
trying
do
to.
it live,
That was
that's
just
the
his
thing. Like the harmonies
wasn't
were great, the playing was great, and that's the thing. You know that nowadays a lot of artists they use auto tune and all that, and you know
It's not as
and
live anymore,
no.
is it? And you see them live, and it's just not the same.
And all the artists that you see playing, new artists, they haven't had
Well,
live work.
the thing that annoys me
experience.
about new artists now is that they'll play, but then they'll stop singing to dance, but the track's still playing. They're just dubbing over their own track, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's no live element to it.
We never had to dance.
Well, when we done Top of the Pops, we done Top of the Pops. The first time we sung it live, you had to go in and re-record your backing track because it was a rule, and it still is a rule, I think.
I was going to ask that when you done Top of the Pops. So after you recorded your album, did Top of the Pops like follow on from that, or did it?
Yeah, well, I mean, in those days, you had to be played on the radio.
Yeah, that was
Radio
the, that
One.
was
You
the
know,
gig.
that
had to
was
be
the
on
only
Radio
way.
1 to get anywhere.
Yes.
I think this is even before MTV.
Yeah. And everyone
Videos.
was listening to the radio then as well. It was
Yeah.
constant, it was a constant thing.
So, you know, the Pinkees were before CDs, anything digital, they were before videos,
Yeah.
you know, and then the MTV come out, so you had to have a video for MTV. But we were before that.
Yeah.
So everything relied on airplay, you know, and I mean, Radio 1 took up the first single, and I think it went in at about number 80, didn't it? Went up to about number 60 or something like that. Going to be lonely again. And then
They got a lot of airplay as well, which is how I heard you the first time, and you were up to your music stuff again. Yeah.
and then Danger Games.
So Danger Games was the next one, was it?
Danger Games was the next
Because that's
one.
how I got into the Pinkees, was Danger Games.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Danger Games was the second one, and then that got a real lot of movement, and we had a couple of TVs to go with that. That's when we got Top of the Pops.
Yeah. So what's the Top of the Pops experience like then? So when you first went, because the first time that you played live. So what was...
no, we didn't. No, you weren't allowed to play
That was
live.
the rule. That was the rule. Wasn't it?
They didn't have the facilities.
No.
So
Technically,
you play a
to
slightly
play
different
live.
backing track, was that?
No,
what-
you had to
You
go
had
in
to
the
re-record
studio
your backing
and
track.
re-record your backing track with
Right.
the same musicians that you used to record the original song, and it was a musicians' union rule.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so if you had an orchestra on your song, you had
Yeah.
to employ that orchestra again
Okay.
to record
If
the
possible.
backing track, so that musicians that worked on the record
Were employed.
were employed. It's a big different thing there.
Must be
But-
hard
but-
to get everyone together. If you
Yeah.
had session musicians and
Yeah. So
know.
we went and recorded a backing track, but then we insisted on singing live, and they said no, and we sort of really pushed it and said no. Look, we are a band. That's what we do.
Love, oh love, there's a game we play. It drags you down. Close your heart away. Nothing they say can change just too late to try. Lights on the bike, calls her a drag, a teardrops from her eyes. She's
I think that's what Queen done when they went on Top of the Pops. Didn't they were like, no, we're singing. They made them mind, so they just made them look like a fool, didn't they, on TV and stuff.
So we done that. The first time we did it, we sung live. The second time, we were miming.
Yeah. That's a good experience to look back on that and think that you won your argument essentially, didn't you? Really.
And that was the first TV performance that Paul Egham had ever done, and he's singing live. And what was different about that Top of the Pops was Top of the Pops used to be recorded on the Wednesday and go out on the Thursday evening. And that actually went out on the Thursday evening live, so Paul was singing live as the programme went out live.
Oh, wow.
His first
Even more
TV.
nerves.
He done well. I admired him for
Paul was such a cool person.
He was a lovely guy, Paul.
I was going to ask you, in terms of, obviously you all get on, as a band, and obviously Paul Sade is no longer here, but what was he like to hang out with? And
Paul was a lovely guy, I done pub gigs with him as duos. He's the most polite person I've ever known in my life. Right? Now, you can't deny this, right? After you do a gig, you've had a really good night, there's always someone in the pub that wants to come up and talk to you when you're packing your gear away. And he's drunk, and he's an idiot.
Trips over your stuff.
Yeah, he's an idiot, and you just can't wait to get away from him. Paul would stand there and talk to him.
He was a perfect.
And he'd be like that, be really interested, and asking him what he does. He's a lovely guy.
Total time for people.
He really was.
Polar opposite to me.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me, I want to go home.
I'd say, no, sorry mate, look, talk to Paul.
But Lewis is a bit like that, isn't he? Lewis will stand there, he'll talk to people. Yeah. Okay.
Which is great. I mean, I love talking to people, but when you're packing your gear away at the end of a very long
late,
evening, and you've got a 2-hour journey drive home, sometimes it's difficult, but Paul always had time.
Yeah,
I think the difference with Paul is he was, apart from being a fantastic musician, songwriter, vocalist, he was also a fantastic guitar maker. So he made guitars, he was a luthier, he made lutes, mandolins, and so he had the patience of a saint, to put those...
He went to the London College of Furniture. He was
did.
a great
He was a deeply talented craftsman,
He would talk about wood to the point that you just want to strangle him. No, he would. He's so fascinated.
Different
he was
facets.
so passionate about it.
I mean, and like whenever we was away, I always used to share a room with Paul, and I'd say, right, don't talk about wood. Because he would talk about ebony like it was a cream cake, No, he would. He would talk about, that's what he was like.
Yeah.
He had that aspect to him, but he would also have this
Very
fantastic
polite,
rock and
really
roll
polite.
voice, didn't he? It just came out of nowhere. But he could turn it on like that, couldn't he, the voice?
So extremely
Always in
polite
tune,
to everybody.
Consummate musician on stage.
Yeah, he was.
Never put a foot wrong. He was a good lead guitarist as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he played like harmony lines with Max. So Max would play the main guitar lines, which Max would create. He was really good at that, wasn't he? And then Paul put in all the harmony lines live on stage and sing and talk about wood. So, all going on.
There's a funny clip actually on YouTube. We done this TV show in Sweden. And the TV show was called
Casablanca, wasn't it? Yeah.
And there's 2 songs on there. I mean, the quality's awful, the video quality. Someone's recorded it and stuck it on there. But the second song, Gonna Be Lonely Again, it's either the first song or a second song. There's a double guitar lead part in there. And Max does the first part and he turns around to Paul, because Paul to do the harmony. Paul didn't do it for some reason. I think his mind went a bit blank. He didn't do it, and Max just looks at him like that and just carries on and plays
Keeps
it
going.
himself. Look out for that, you'll see.
That was Paul's one mistake in 25 years.
Yeah.
Save me from loving you. I'm lost
So when did the Swedish television appearance come along?
That was
Well, we charted in Sweden, didn't we?
Yeah,
That's
we
why
charted
were
in
invited
Sweden.
across to play. We played a week of gigs, and then we did the live
Wow,
show, which was a bit like it was their version of the old grey whistle test.
Right.
So it wasn't top of the
totally
pops, it was
live.
more
It's totally
heavy.
live there.
Yeah, and it was live as it went out, which I didn't realise, and that was the first time I was scared doing TV. I've done quite a bit of TV in the 70s, different bands.
So no pressure then.
Yeah, there was no pressure. Then when I found out, I said,
Yeah.
I can't do the Swedish accent, but I'll try.
Yeah.
He said, so Neville, you know that we're going to do the rehearsal now. He said, then in 7 minutes it goes out live.
Yeah.
We're going out live. I thought we were just recording it.
It's
No,
scary.
It was scary as heck.
That Pebble meal, wasn't it? When we done that Pebble
And don't
meal.
forget to smile, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had the same thing in Fox in America. Just before we went on, it was kind of not used to TV. You're new to it, and it's going live. And I was the only one who could talk as well. So it's one mic kind of thing. You're like, right, here we go. Don't mess this up.
Right.
It's all very quick, isn't it?
So
It just happened.
you're lucky, mate. Never had a chance to go to America.
did,
You're
didn't
lucky.
Good few years ago
Really
now,
lucky.
but it's.
Did you get much more international gigs?
Went to Germany, didn't we?
Yeah, we went to Germany. That was pretty strange, wasn't it?
What are the crowds like in the national countries? What's it like in what's the
Brilliant.
crowd?
Sweden.
Sweden. What like in Sweden?
Phenomenal.
Really?
Phenomenal. We
We
done
played
that
in
show
Stockholm,
and
the club,
it,
didn't we?
we done the TV show first,
Yeah.
and then we done the gigs. We
They were
done
all in
the t-
Stockholm, the gigs, weren't they?
Yeah, we done that TV show, and the next day we had a gig, and I've never seen nothing like that. That was probably one of the best moments for me.
Yeah.
Seeing people queuing all the way around the street,
Wow.
all the way around the block to get tickets.
People singing along to your songs.
Yeah.
What's that feel like? It must feel
great.
great.
Can't beat that feeling. It's,
No, because
I
that
think it's
is
'cause
Something
that
you've
just
created,
split up.
isn't it? Something you've created.
Exactly.
People have taken the time to listen to it, buy the song, buy the CD, before CDs,
Yeah.
buy the album or whatever, and now they're singing your song.
Like you watch Queen at Live Aid. And
Yeah.
To me, I think that's the ultimate
The pinnacle.
performance.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Anyone.
That is incredible.
We used
Yeah.
to see Queen, didn't we? Do you remember when we were on tour in '76?
Yeah, we used to spend every night with Queen in the hotel.
On the same.
Because we was on
We
the same
coincided on the
circuit.
circuit.
Really?
Yeah.
And we done the concert tour supporting Leo Sayer.
Yeah.
And we were there.
Holiday Inn. That was,
Yeah, and we
thought
was
was like
down in
the
all the
bee's
holiday
knees.
inns. It used to be like the best hotels in those days.
There was nothing else.
And but Queen were always there because they were doing that gig the following night.
So they come back from finishing their gig and we just hang out in
so
the
you'd
bar.
so you'd see them, and
Yeah.
Every night we
chat.
saw them for a month.
that's amazing.
Just kept,
sat up in
the
the
paths
bar.
just kept crossing. I'm
Yeah.
sure they didn't know who the heck we were.
No,
we
no,
were
no.
just the
No,
support band
but
from
we all
Leo
become
Sayer's
like
tour.
drinking buddies, didn't we?
Yeah.
Really, in the end, they were really nice guys. But my claim to fame, I've got to
There's
tell you
more.
this. My little claim to fame is when I was in this band with Neville in the 70s with Glider. We had to go up to. I had to go up with your brother Gareth
IBC Studios.
to IBC Studios
opposite the Beeb.
opposite the
Fantastic
BBC.
studio. Oh, my God.
And I got up and we had
You
to
were
be
mixing
there.
the album, yeah.
Yeah, I had to get up there for 11 o'clock in the morning. So got onto that. This is in the days before mobile phones. You've got to remember that, right? So I got up, got ready, went out, got on the train, went to London, got out at Oxford Circus tube, and the crowds were phenomenal. And there's police everywhere. And what it was, it's the Osmonds, who were the biggest band in the world, the Osmonds, Donny Osmond and all that. They were doing an interview at Radio 1, and Radio 1 used to be opposite the hotel, the studio where we were working. So anyway, I managed to get through the crowd, got into the studio, went upstairs, went in the control room. There's all the Osmonds. singing.
Wow. What were they like?
It's really weird because they said, "Look, we're really sorry, but
Lovely hair.
yeah, we've had to take over your session because of this thing I was talking about earlier, like orchestra. They were on top of the pops, had to use an orchestra to re-record it, and that IBC Studios
It's huge, yeah.
was the only studio really big enough in London, apart from here, that they could use.
Or Abbey Road.
And so I thought, okay. But they said, but you're welcome to stay here and watch us work
That's
if you
amazing
want to
to
stay.
experience
So
it.
we spent the day there. But the funny thing about it was I was gasping for a drink. So I went downstairs to the kitchen to get some water. And now this kitchen is half the size of this room. and Donny Osmond was in there. And he's gone, "Hi, I'm Donny." I went, "Yeah, I know." I said, "I'm Andy." We shook hands. Really lovely guy, you know. And he said, "I'm making some coffee for my brothers and all that." He said, "Do you want a coffee?" I went, "Yeah, okay, I'll have a coffee." And then he said, "Do you like tuna fish?" And I went, "Yeah." I thought, what a bizarre question. And
He didn't have tuna fish, he just asked you a question.
yeah, do you like tuna fish? And I went, "Yeah, I do like tuna fish." He said, "I'm making some toasted tuna fish sandwiches. Would you like one?" And he made me a toasted tuna fish sandwich.
Was it nice?
It was fantastic.
Horrible.
No, but it was such a lovely guy. Like, he was probably one of the biggest stars in the world, you know.
Yeah.
And that taught me a real lesson.
To be humble.
Oh yeah. I was 19. He was a couple of years older than me, and it really, really taught me a lesson. You know.
Just so many amazing stories you've got though. In terms
There's a lot of stories. We met a lot of people.
Yeah.
So with more of the international gigs as well, you say you went to Germany.
Yeah, we went to Germany. That was we went to East Germany.
We went to East Germany. So
that was communist East Germany.
That was communist East Germany behind the Iron Curtain, and it was the proper Iron Curtain. Then it was part of the Soviet Empire, really. And I think it wasn't a cultural exchange exactly.
No, I don't know how we got to do it.
The Communist Party of East Germany would invite out European bands, Western European bands, to appear on their version of Top of the Pops, which was called the Rund, R-U-N-D.
Okay.
That's it, the Rund.
The Rund.
Yeah, that's it.
We'd done it once in a band in '76, and then we were invited out again. Pinkees were invited out in '82, and we hopped on the Aeroflot plane. And I don't know if Aeroflot are going anymore.
Yeah, they are.
The Aeroflot plane at
they've just been barred, haven't they, from Britain?
Flew out to East Berlin.
Yeah.
And it was bizarre because when we landed in East Berlin, we looked on the runway, and there was the same bus that had picked us up in 1976, and there was the same driver on the same bus.
You know,
we recognised him because people didn't change their jobs.
Oh, really?
And we just did the TV show. That was it. We were there for like 5 days, but yeah.
The first time I went to East Germany, we done that thing with Glider.
Yeah, it was the same deal, really.
Yeah, it was the same thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was Aeroflot Airlines. Unbelievable. Right, I got in, sat down, seat belt's broken. And I called over the steward. There's no stewardesses, it was all blokes, wasn't it, I think?
Can't remember.
Yeah. And I went, "Excuse me." He went, "Yeah." I said, "Look, my seat belt's..." He went, and walked off.
Eat a cigarette.
He just went, didn't even say anything, he just went,
That's communism, though.
Welcome to the real world.
It was the same thing in the hotel.
Living the dream.
We arrived at this hotel, and they sent the TV company sent an interpreter with us.
Stroke Stasi spy.
Yeah, she was a young girl. She was about 24, I guess, wasn't she? But she spoke 10 different languages, this girl. And right, we'd been dropped off at the hotel in a minibus, and all our guitars are outside, and like she's come up and started chatting to us and all that, and I'm looking out the window, and she went, "What's the matter?" I said, "Well, our guitars are out there." She went, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I don't want to leave them out there in case they disappear." She went, "What?"
Concept she didn't understand.
Stealing things is not something you do in East Germany.
No.
And like, she really couldn't understand the concept of what I was talking
But
about.
the sad thing about both trips was we bumped into a lot of musicians from Czechoslovakia, so
Yeah.
they were all Iron Curtain countries apart from us. We were the Western band, you know, and I didn't feel exploited, but I felt a bit uncomfortable both times because you thought, what are we doing here? But we did the
a little bit
show.
out of place.
Out of place, but the other musicians we met, all they were interested in is how can we escape?
Yeah,
how can we escape from this country?
I felt so
to your country.
So
It was sad.
lucky.
Yeah, lucky.
You know, really lucky that I'm free.
Yeah.
So with you were saying a minute ago, like what gear did you use then?
I had what did I had a Fender Stratocaster, 1966 Fender Stratocaster Sunburst, and a Fender Twin Reverb amp, which was heavy as hell.
Heavy as heck, yeah.
But obviously we didn't have to do a lot of lifting because we had roadies.
Yeah,
to do
You had your
that's right.
roadies.
Yeah.
That's a luxury that you never.
Yeah, when
gonna say,
Pinkees
what's
took
that
off,
like?
With the Pinkees,
we got two great roadies from Basel and Aero.
Yeah.
One was the minder and driver for Alison Moyer, called Andy Matthews, who
Okay.
unfortunately passed away about 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
A real local character. He also roaded for Keith Richards.
Oh, okay.
Keith Richards, so he was a real local character, Andy Matthews, wasn't he?
Little local
So
legend.
unfortunately,
He didn't
went-
take no nonsense from anybody.
No, he was
you
the
know.
kick down the door guy. And then we had Charlie, who was our sound guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And Charlie's still around Basildon, isn't he?
Yeah.
And a lovely, lovely man. And they really looked after us, didn't they, the pair of them?
And everywhere we went, we had hired PAs. We didn't take a PA
Yeah.
because you need big
So that
lights.
saves in terms of transportation. You know, it was already there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had the Strat. How about yourself?
Well, I took up the bass in '76, and I only took up the bass because Dave Bronner's left the band we were playing together in. Dave Bronner's legendary bass player,
Yeah.
still is, and he left, and I was playing percussion, so I was a Latin American percussionist, strumming a mandolin, and basically I was there ready for eye candy.
He was. He
I
was.
was like the boy.
seriously.
I was like the dancer in the band.
He was
And,
the best looking. He was the best looking one in the band.
Don't know what happened. And so we were a 7-piece, went down to 6-piece, and bass player left. And then we tried 2 bass players who both drove us all nuts. Do you remember?
Two
Yeah, in the
bass players.
space of an hour.
Not at the same time.
No,
I was gonna say.
this is auditioning.
Yeah, so we tried one, they came along, it didn't work out. It was mainly because they couldn't behave themselves in the tour bus. You know,
Right.
they were right on the stage, but they're just annoying.
Didn't have the discipline.
You know, if you're
annoying.
going up and down the country
You
doing
need to be
gigs,
friends.
you got to get on.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
You're with
and
each other a lot of time, aren't you?
So after we sacked the second one, everyone turned around to me and said, Neville, you don't do much in the band, do you? I said, no. And I said, well, you can learn the bass.
Yeah.
So we sacked the last bass player. I learnt the bass. It took me like weeks. I was already a guitarist of sorts.
Yeah.
So I learnt the bass, and that's where I bought my Fender bass. So I bought a Fender Precision bass in Walthamstow High Street, £210 in
That's a lot of
1976. Yeah, P bass. So it was a Fender P bass, which
Yeah.
I still play. I've still got that bass.
Oh, wow.
Still
wow.
kept it.
It's been the pickups have been rewound a couple of times. It's been refretted 4 times, I think. But it's still it records fantastic.
Still got the sound that you want. That.
Yeah.
And my
And, I won't-
1966 Strat,
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
give to Justin.
Always
you know
played
Justin,
that.
my
Yeah,
son.
yeah.
Yeah,
You still
just
kept
great
it
old
in the
guitars.
family then. That's
Yeah.
We're a big
that's
Fender
what-
band, really, aren't we? Fender
Yeah.
guitars.
What amplification did you use?
Well, I was using back then. Was using a great big Yamaha combo. It was like a 1x15 with a 2x10 as well. It was a really big unit. That's when we had roadies. I wouldn't
Yeah,
possibly.
gear
move
was
it on
heavy
my
in those days.
Get it to the castle, main.
Just turn up. Yeah.
own. But yeah,
What were the other chaps in the
Sleep
band?
steps.
What were they kind of using? Do you remember?
Oh,
do you
you
know?
got to come
Max. Max has always used PV. So our lead guitarist Max always used a PV amp, which he still uses to this day. I think it's
But
like
he had a
1x12.
Dick Knight guitar, didn't
And
he?
a Dick Knight guitar, handmade by a guy in Kent, isn't it? Dick
was
Knight.
his name
right
Dick
now.
Knight?
His name's Dick Knight. Called Knight Guitars, and that is the only guitar Max has ever had.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Electric
he's
White
never
guitar.
never changed it.
Never changed it, so it looks a bit like an
Ain't broke,
SG.
don't fix it.
Looks a
you
bit
know.
like an SG, like the twin horns. But Max can make it do anything he wants, so he doesn't.
It's a great guitar.
Take note there, Chris. Stick to one guitar.
Yeah,
Chris changed guitars during the show.
How many guitars you got?
I used 2 guitars live, so I got a Fender Strat and a Fender Telecaster.
yeah.
I switch between.
Great combination.
Or he breaks a string when you're live
Breaks
because
the
he
string,
he gets so into it, he breaks a string.
And then the roadie just passes you another one.
Yeah, we wish.
But the Telecaster's it's a 62 reissue, so it's nice. It was played in a band called the Shires that I played at Glastonbury a few times.
Oh, no, the Shires, yeah.
So I bought it off eBay off a guy.
Was that the guy and the girl
Yeah.
duo?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they're good.
And I bought it off.
Right,
I
nice
didn't know
treat.
anything about it, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, I'm guitarist in the Shires, and
Yeah.
I'm getting rid of this guitar."
They're a good act.
And he was just, I was like, "Oh, well, so it's in the post." So that was a spot of luck.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was. It's just, yeah, I've always played Fenders.
Yeah, I still love Fender. I've got a Fender Jaguar bass as well.
Yeah, oh
Which
nice.
I've had about 10 years. I quite like that for live now because I don't like to take the P bass out because it's too
It's sentimental
valuable.
for you.
No, it's
now.
not even that. It's just too valuable. I
valuable,
think if I
yeah.
lost it or broke it,
You'd never forgive yourself, would you?
Yeah.
no, it's not even the money value. It's the sentimental value
Yeah,
because that
definitely.
did all the TV and stuff and
Yeah, you've got to keep it
just
just for
like
the
it too much.
memories, etc. But just before we talk a bit more about the touring, etc., and obviously why the Pinkees split. But before that, so you said obviously Derek Taylor back in the day discovered you. How did he discover you?
He didn't discover us. It was we had a manager called Laurie J, didn't we?
Yeah, Laurie was.
Laurie, sadly, he's gone as well now. But Laurie was a top session drummer. I mean, he's actually
He played on Out of Time. by Chris Farlow. That's Laurie
Oh,
on the
right,
drums.
okay.
A really big drum track.
Yeah.
If you ever hear it. He was quite a well-known session drummer around the London
He knew
studios.
everybody, Laurie.
He played for,
Absolutely everybody.
Dusty Springfield. He played on some of her singles.
Wow, okay, yeah.
He-
We didn't know any of this
He done
at
it.
the time.
He
was just an old guy.
He done 2 gigs with the Shadows.
Yeah.
In Australia, I think he said, wasn't it? Because the drummer was.
But when we
taken
met him,
ill.
we just thought he was an old guy, wasn't it? We didn't
He
care
was-
about what he'd done.
He played with Gene Vincent.
Yeah.
So how did you know him though? That's
Yeah,
just
how did he
amazing.
get hold of
The-
us?
He had a band called the Laurie J Combo. Check it out, Laurie J. Laurie J Combo.
Okay.
And I don't even know how we met him.
I think we were doing the circuit again at Basildon where we always played, and I think there was like a local sort of talent scout spotted us, and then it sort of fed back into London where everything had to go through London then. And Laurie J was a well-known band manager. He managed
managed Billy Ocean
for his whole career until Laurie passed away.
Yeah.
And quite a few other people. And Laurie just sent one of his guys down to see us in the pub in Basildon and signed us from there, didn't he, for management?
Yeah.
And
He
he's the
got
guy
us
who got us
a
signed to
great
Warner's.
deal with
Yeah.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Fantastic, yeah.
Because when we left Warner's, because we only did one album in the end, which is sad.
Yeah.
We had a second album in the can,
Yeah.
didn't get released,
No.
and it fizzled out. They let us go, which is fine. We'd done 7 singles, I think, and just scratched the charts then. But when we left, we didn't owe them any money, which is
No.
quite unusual.
Yeah,
But it's
Often
still
you're
at
left
that
with a
age
debt.
to have the
Yeah.
experience and
Yeah.
the stories of
It's
Derek
fabulous
Taylor.
experience at that age.
It's worth more
19.
than the actual achievements, isn't it?
You know,
It's the journey.
I mean, to have a recording deal with Warner Brothers at 19, that was.
So when Pinkees
yeah.
came, it was a bit more relaxed, really. We thought, we've
Yeah.
done this, we've done the TV, we've done the radio, and we've done recording. And
You were going with the flow. We're not going with
Yeah.
the flow,
We
but
were
Yeah,
just-
but
we were
we'd
enjoying
done
it
it
all.
before, so we had no fear.
experience,
There's
yeah.
no fear there, you know.
Yeah.
We would get up and play live anywhere in front of anybody,
yeah.
you know, and that's a great feeling when you've got a band like that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know when the band are good in
Yeah.
your heart. You think, you know, we're really cooking here, and you know, don't you?
You get the fear,
So
don't you?
yeah, so then you've got no fear. Once you get that feeling, that's it. Stand up and play against anyone. You don't care.
That's it, and that's such a great feeling when you know
It's a
you can
great
do it,
feeling.
and you almost become a character as well, don't
Yeah,
you?
well,
like
yeah.
an alter ego,
Well, you
Yeah,
become
it's
like
a
brothers, you know,
yeah.
and that's what it's like.
and that's the main thing. But talking about that, though, obviously you've said some great stories there in terms of people you've met. But what was it like on tour? Did you sometimes fall out? Was you always getting on, or
No,
was it?
I don't think we ever fell out, did we?
not really, no. I mean, it could become a bit.
Bickery at times.
It could become a bit. What's the word I'm looking for? Boring.
Yeah.
So it's boring.
Yeah. It's only because
quite a
you have
long
to be
time
there
we
so
were
early at
driving a
gigs,
lot,
you know, like
yeah.
you might have to be there by 4:00 in the evening and you're not on till 10. So that's 6 hours you've got to kill and you can't go down the pub and
Yeah.
get it. I mean, we discovered that to our peril. We done a gig in Dartford, didn't we? Do you remember? And we had to be there at 4:00 in the afternoon, but we weren't actually on till 11:00 at night.
Oh, blimey.
So we thought, we'd just go into Dartford. It was a Saturday night as well, and there was a band playing. And when we walked in there, the band recognised us.
I think we've just been on Top of the Pops.
Yeah. And they said, guys, get up and do a couple of songs. So in our innocent stupidity,
You did.
we got up and done a couple of songs. Yeah, it was great, you know, great atmosphere. Went back, done the gig. And then at the end of the night, the promoter wouldn't pay us because we broke the contract. Because if you read
Couldn't
in the
play a
contract,
10-mile radius for
Couldn't play
like a week or something.
yeah, you can't
because
play.
they went- Cross.
And word,
Because obviously
word got
what-
around, yeah.
Well, no, the manager of the pub phoned up the promoter and said, "How much you
just
paying
played
for
it
that
for nothing."
band? I've just got them here for nothing."
Oh, bloody hell.
It's you got to be so careful.
Talk about stabbing in the back. you know.
Yeah. There you go.
That's the side of
Expensive
like
hobby.
that's the side of that kind of world that people, the average Joe, doesn't see. All these contracts you got to
No.
abide
Yeah.
by, and the way you got to be. You can't
Yeah.
say certain things about certain people. You can't say certain things about anything. You know.
No.
So yeah,
We hadn't read that contract either, so.
yeah.
But it's a business thing, isn't it? You don't. You
Well, it
just,
is
want,
a
you just want the rock and
business, yeah.
roll, but
Yeah.
it's all the small prints and the things that you just don't think about. You know.
I call it flannel. I call it flannel. Like the things you can't say, things you're not allowed
Yeah.
to say, things you are allowed to say.
Well, especially nowadays, you can't say anything. That's why it's so hard for comedians.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
can't make
PC.
jokes about anyone.
It's the cancel culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's because like when I watch TV now, you get all these celebrities coming on, and the presenter will ask them like a bit of an awkward question, and they'll always just bypass it and like say, "Oh yeah, I love that." Even though like 6 months ago they'd have fallen out in the newspaper, I was like, "Yeah, I love that person." We get on really well because they're not going to knock them on live TV, are they?
No.
I just call it flannel. That's what I call
It is. It's sad, really.
Going back to obviously the album that you did, and obviously you've just recently put it out on digital platforms, the 40-year anniversary. It's really good. It's all people that are checking out this podcast listen to it on Spotify and all the other audio platforms. It's fantastic. But you did that album, and it was like I said, Top of the Pops, etc. What kind of happened after that? Because it was only really band for a couple of years in the from an album point of view. Why did you stop? Because you could have done more easily. I'm listening to that album now, thinking I want to hear another album.
Well, we did have a few songs in the can, didn't we? What happened was when Danger Games come out, we were doing loads of gigs and we getting a lot of airplay, and it entered the chart at something like number 40, didn't it, or something like that. And once you're in the top 40, that's the only time you can ever get onto Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
If you're not in the top 40, forget it. Now you got to remember do you guys remember Top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the biggest TV show. It's a make or break of.
It was big up until like the early 2000s, wasn't it?
I used to watch it every Friday.
Yeah. It's still available at Christmas time.
Christmas time,
Christmas special.
and was it? I think on Sky or even Dave or something. They'll play Top of the Pops from back in the day as well.
Gold versions.
They'll play all that. Yeah, so
right. So we had that, and it come in at number 40 in the chart, and then we done Top of the Pops, and it went up to number 20. Then we went up to number 8, and then we done it again, and it was all going really, really great. I know exactly how many the record sold, but then boom, and an article comes out in the Sun newspaper, basically saying who has bought this record. There was a big thing about chart hyping in those days.
I read this earlier on. Yeah.
A big thing.
It was a hot topic.
It was a real, a company called Gallup used to produce a chart, and they would go round to record shops to find out how many they sold, and they used to have what's called chart return shops. Right. So certain shops would have to list every record they sold, and that's how they made the chart. Unfortunately, what was his name? Was it Rick Sky?
Yeah.
Rick Sky wrote an article in the Sun newspaper saying, we done a spokesman from Our Price Records. Now, Our Price Records were the biggest record chain in the country. One of the biggest. Right? You probably never heard of them, Our Price. But they were a big record company. A big record selling shop. And a spokesman from Our Price Records has said they have hardly not sold any of this single, so they don't understand how it's got into number 8. And in fact, that was a complete lie, because Our Price Record didn't actually even sell one of our records, because Our Price Records were involved in a dispute with our record company, Creole Records, because they hadn't paid bills from previous times. So our record company, Creole, didn't supply Our Price record chain with a single. So that was a lie. But unfortunately, the BBC saw it and they stopped playing it on the radio, and it killed it for the third single, which was going to be Holding Me Tight.
Yeah.
Because I always wanted that one to be the one that would really sort of put the band on.
Probably my favourite song on the album, actually.
It's such a great, exciting song live as well. It always used to be the most popular, wasn't it?
Absolutely live, yeah.
So in the blink of an eye, everything stopped for the band.
Somebody pulled our plug out, didn't they?
Yeah. There was no airplay, there was no TV.
And what was the morale like in the band when that
Terrible.
happened?
Yeah.
Absolutely
It's like
terrible.
because
it hit us hard because it's something
doing that,
you
you
have
just do
no
that.
control over. All you're doing is writing the songs, in Andy's case, recording them, going out doing the gigs, getting a good reception live. And you can't do anything else apart from that and the occasional interview. You can't control records in shops.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the band. So it was really, it was out of our control. So it was very, very frustrating.
That is fair. I can't imagine how I can have a very small version in terms of seeing how you must have felt. So we were just about to tour America years ago and about to do a massive tour with a record label, and then 2 weeks before our guitarist quit the band, so we weren't the same, and people dropped us on the back of that because they expect commitment, don't they? The full package.
They want the whole deal. Yeah.
So from your perspective, on another level, to suddenly have that stop,
it was just completely stopped. Everything, the airplay stopped.
The rug was pulled from under us.
Yeah,
it was because of what is basically a lie.
It's awful, though, isn't it? It's just
in the major newspaper, that was just a point blank lie. Our Price record hadn't sold one of our single because they weren't supplied with a record.
Yeah.
Hyping was big in those days. Loads of bands used to hype records into the chart because you wouldn't get airplay. If it's not in the chart, you don't get airplay. So you've got to get your record in the top 40 before you start getting airplay.
There were no downloads. It was just
I was going to say,
singles had to be
downloads. There's no streaming contributions.
Physical sales.
Physical sales. People had to go into a shop and physically pay and take your single home.
I think it was until about 5 years ago the charts started counting Spotify plays as contributions to being in the top 40 and things like that.
Yeah.
Nothing like that, I suppose.
No,
back then.
That was. But I know that record wasn't hyped. Because I know how much...
You can know it, yeah.
I wrote the song. I know how many copies were sold.
Yeah.
89,000 copies were sold of that single. Wow. And that got to number 8. 89,000. Yeah. 89,000 sales nowadays. You'd be number 1.
Yeah. That's just unreal. It's so frustrating to hear that story because...
Well, it is frustrating.
What would have happened if you'd still gone on? You'd have had another album and... Yeah. But... But from that perspective, then obviously deflated, thinking. So, was there a part of you that wanted to continue as a band? Was you?
Yeah, we carried on, and then we went to Sweden, didn't we?
We did.
We went to Sweden, and we'd just done this fantastic gig in Sweden after the TV show, and we're back in the hotel. There's
Didn't
all
you
the
hang
radio.
out at the ABBA studio as well? Did you go to the ABBA studio?
Yeah, I went to the ABBA studio.
Oh wow,
that's another story.
Yeah, to have a look. It's fantastic.
Did you meet them?
No. Didn't we do some recording in there? No. I just went there.
You just got the invite to visit. We bumped into a band called Winter, maybe, who were recording there, and they said, "Come and see the studio." So that was the deal. Stockholm's a very small city.
Yeah. But anyway, we just done this fantastic gig, and we're in the bar. There's all the press there, the radio people I'm doing interviews. Paul's doing interviews, you're talking to people and all this. It's all going off because it was a fantastic gig.
Yeah, we're in the charts in Sweden, yeah.
And then Paul just turned around to me and said, I've had enough now.
Really?
And I went, well, go to bed then. Because that's what I thought he meant. He was he's tired. That's what I thought he meant.
Just out of the blue, just said that.
Yeah, just come out with it, and he said, no, Andy, I've had enough of the band. And I went, oh, Paul, go to bed and think about it in the morning. And I was sharing a room with him, and obviously I couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I said, come on, what's happening? And he told me. He had a few personal problems.
Yeah.
And that really affected him more than anything, didn't it?
Yeah, he was a sensitive guy.
Yeah.
He was and once Paul left, you can't replace him.
Yeah.
Because his voice was the sound of the Pinkees.
Yeah.
Really.
And there was no way of him staying. Did you try and
No, there's no way.
No.
Just respected his decision, I suppose.
His
Absolutely,
marriage was splitting up, and that was the main reason.
Yeah. And if your headspace is not in the right place, the last thing you want to do is push a band.
If your marriage is breaking up, you don't.
It's not a priority.
You don't want to sing, do you?
Your band and
Bigger
stuff.
things to do, yeah.
So then you called it a day, and then what did you both do from that point?
Well, no, we didn't call it a day. We carried on.
You kept going.
We carried on for a little while.
But without Paul, you kept going.
So Andy did all the lead vocals, which he's quite capable of.
Yeah.
Different sound,
but it was
slightly.
a different sound.
Max left. We got a different lead guitarist.
Yeah.
And then different drummer.
Yeah.
And so it was me and you.
Yeah.
It was me and you, really, wasn't it?
Just me and you. Yeah.
And we just carried on, didn't we? Didn't we get a couple of backing vocalists in? Was Leslie a backing vocalist?
No.
Maybe, yeah. Anyway, we recorded a bit of stuff, and we did a few college gigs, but yeah, it was a different band, and
it weren't going to work.
No,
you still went out as the Pinkees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't going to work.
No.
So that's it.
How long did you keep doing it for after that? Was it a couple
about
of years?
6 months.
Oh, 6
Yeah,
months
6
or
months,
so.
Not long then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then personally, did you just continue playing, or did you have a break from music? Was you fed up with music for a little while?
Oh, I was fed up for about 20 years.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
I've
true.
never stopped playing. I've always played. So I mean, I'm a sideman, so I basically play bass for other people.
Yeah.
And my thing is to play original music, which is why I've come back to Andy at least twice, 3 times now, because I crave original music.
Yeah.
And we've played covers together, haven't we?
Yeah.
We quite enjoy it, but eventually, I just want to play the original stuff where I can put my own stamp on it.
Exactly.
And that's what
You can't
really
beat
enjoy.
it.
It's yours, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm playing now. The guys are playing now with the Ugly Guys, and
Oh wow, from the Casablanca Flyers.
yeah.
isn't
So
it?
it's
People from
Paul Shuttleworth, the vocalist, and Vic Collins, the
yeah,
steel guitarist from the Casablanca Flyers.
amazing.
And Steve Oliver, who plays in the band with Andy,
Yeah,
Beat
Beat
Patrol, he's
Patrol.
lead guitar, and he also does all our recording. And Bob Clouter, drummer, who played with.
You must have heard of Bob Clouter.
Bob
You're the
Clouter.
drummer.
He's a Southend legend. What? Okay,
Really?
he must introduce you.
Yes.
Well, he played with Dr. Feelgood for a bit.
And Dr. Would
You
you
know
Yes,
them.
yes.
And Mickey Jupp, who's like a Southend legend.
Yeah.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
And so that's us, and we do like it's country rock, but it's original.
Yeah.
All our own
I had
material.
Very
checked
good.
out
They're
some
really
of the-
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Up until a couple of months ago, the band that we've got, the Beat Patrol, had Neville in it at the Pinkees
Yeah.
and Paul on
Yeah.
drums at the Pinkees, and Paul's still with me,
Yeah.
but he buggered off.
But in the end, they couldn't afford me.
Well, that's what I come to, because obviously the Beat Patrol, because obviously I've seen you guys play a couple of times.
Oh,
'cause-
you saw us at Lee, didn't you? When
Yeah.
it
You
was
was there
that
as well, I believe.
hurricane. Is that
On
what
the
Yes.
rainy day.
Is that the? It wasn't the Lee Folk Festival, was it? Or
No,
the
Oh,
Regatta?
it's Regatta, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you
Right.
there. I've seen you at the Winged Horse as well.
Well, that shit, whatever that.
That was awful. Yeah. We ended up in the smack, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, anywhere dry.
Watching
I don't blame
the
you.
local band called Doojip. I remember watching them.
Did you? Yeah.
They're like sort of mod sort of thing.
Yeah.
I like a mod band.
They were really good. But I remember a 7-year-old man. He said to me, he just went, "Yeah, they're good, aren't they?" Oh yeah. And we both went, "I can't understand a fucking word he's saying." That singer.
Because your dad plays, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of stopped playing now. I mean, he's managed. He over the years. He said that years ago. I think it was 15, 16. I think he went for an audition for the Pinkees, but wasn't good enough at the time. So I think he played for like a week and thought, I'll go for an audition, and wasn't good enough. I think he played the 3 notes. But since then, he
He's been playing for a fortnight. He would have been in.
Yeah, that's right. Or
But
even
the,
a week. You got a really good local following, you guys. Really good.
Yeah.
Because I've seen you a couple of times, and every time it's been rammed.
Yeah, I mean the good thing is we try our best to just keep playing and social media. I mean, we've had a break as well over the years. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, as different lineup changes, and like I say, going to tour America, people leave the band just before. It's heartbreaking, and we've kind of had to this version of the Apes, because we had a 2-year break. We did a different covers band.
The thing is, we
started
came
again.
back and we was like, what can we make ourselves different from every other band? So we sat down and we said, right, we need to just do this, and this to make us stand out. And it's paid off so far. Gigs have been really good. Like, yeah.
And we're similar to you guys in the sense where we love playing the covers but playing the originals as well. And you know, I know we've been talking about writing songs at some point together, which would be great. But on a different note, the Beat Patrol, and in terms of this, so you play the cover band circuit now as well, the local. So, what's your thoughts on the local scene these days? I know it's a different kind of conversation in terms of the Pinkees and stuff like that.
I just think it's.
But the music scene,
I think it's so harder now.
yeah.
You know, I think audiences just don't seem interested as much as what they were years ago. And I mean, I don't know. It's
I mean, the scene the Beat Patrol are playing is mainly
social clubs.
social clubs.
Yeah.
Which Pinkees would never have played a social club. It's a completely different
it's a
market, you know.
different thing.
It was
altogether.
where our mums and dads would go, and we are the mums and dads now, obviously.
Well, we're the
And
nan and
grandparents,
granddads.
Nan and granddads. Yeah, so that's the scene. So it's like the the British Legion circuit. So that's where covers bands or older cover like us playing 60s, 70s or you, sorry. That's where they play now. But yeah, Pinkees was a strictly it was pub rock.
Yeah.
I mean, pub rock was kind of invented in the 70s.
Yeah.
Because before the 70s, you'd never see a band in a pub. We'd see like a lady in the corner playing the piano, and that would be it. And everyone playing dominoes. And so when pubs started letting bands play in the bar, it was like revolutionary.
Yeah.
So that was the 70s, and then that kind of continued through the 80s. But that kind of but yeah, covers bands now for the kind of stuff you and I would play is really social clubs.
Yeah.
Different.
I've got a soft spot for social clubs though.
We played one the other
I'm
week,
not
didn't we?
dissing social
No,
clubs.
but it's not the same vibe. It's not as rock
Is
and
it?
roll, but it's.
You're not going to get people shoulder to shoulder, sweaty, jumping up down.
You're not going to get crowd
There's families
surfing, are you?
there in
It's
this.
family. It's a family thing, yeah.
No,
It's when we played Social Club last week. We enjoyed it, but yeah, it's a family event.
It's a very different
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah, it's a different crowd,
Was,
isn't it?
was it 2 weeks before we played the ball in Colchester?
Shoulder to shoulder to
Shoulder to shoulder, absolutely
Yeah.
packed, everyone jumping up and down.
Different ball game.
And it was just, you know.
Yeah, but you get them kind of gigs as well. I mean, we done a gig. We done like 2 gigs and they were absolutely rammed. We done one in Southend, but because it was really bad weather, we played to the staff basically.
Yeah.
It's disheartening, but it happens.
You get the odd
These things-
occasion
yeah.
where
Just to rehearse,
weather
yeah.
can affect it, but most
Yeah.
of the time it,
But we
it
enjoyed
works
it.
out
I mean,
well.
we had a little audience there, didn't we? And it's not to say we didn't enjoy the gig. It's just a shame the weather rained it off, really. But
I never care anymore about how many people are there.
just want to play.
You just want to play,
Yeah.
I think.
That's same with us.
I mean-
yeah.
I can tell you this story. You know this story. I think I've told everyone this story. I used to do. I've done solo gigs for a while, just playing acoustic guitar and singing. And I had a gig in, funny enough, in Dartford again. It was in Dartford, and it's a great big long bar, like one of these really narrow sort of pubs, but really long, but very narrow. Right, I set up my gear. There's no one in the pub at all. No one. So I said to the guy behind the bar, I said, bit quiet, and he went, yeah, it's been like this for a long time. Well, oh, right. I said, well, look, it's nearly 8:30. I said, there's no point me starting with no one in the pub. And he went, no, do whatever you got to do, mate. Anyway, I got a drink, sat down, and this old couple came in, and they must have, when I say old, they're like in their 80s,
Yeah.
you know. And they turned around, they looked at me like that, they got a drink, and they walked the complete far end of the bar. Right at the very end, as far away from me as possible.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I thought, oh wow, this is going to be a long night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I thought there's 2 people there, so I'll start playing. Done the first song, and after the first song, this old man, he went... and it sort of echoed all the way up. I went, thank you very much. Done the next song. Echoed all the way up the pub. Anyway, I had that for about half an hour, and no one else come in the pub. And I thought, you know, fuck this, right? So I put my guitar down. I said, right, I'm gonna have a little break now. I walked all the way. This is absolute classic. I walked all the way to the end of the bar, and I went up to him. I went, look, I really appreciate you clapping, mate. I said, but you haven't got to clap after every song. And he looked at me like that, and his wife said, he can't hear you, love, he's born deaf.
Oh
So- she said, he's just being polite. and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, I've got 2 people and one of them's deaf. You couldn't write it. You could not make that up.
Oh God.
Anyway, I'd done about another 20 minutes and I said, look, mate, I'm just going to go
Call
home.
it a night.
Yeah. Not quite living the dream in that scenario.
But that was an incredible night.
But them kind of gigs are disheartening now. I remember when I first started playing gigs, I used to go down to like Chinnery's and stuff, and Chinnery's is mainly originals bands and stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
people, this is goes back to the whole people don't appreciate original music. You go there, just standing there watching you, and then whenever you got a headline slot these days. It's the worst slot to take because no one's there. People go and see their friends' bands play, first, second, third, fourth band. There's no one there.
And they're going back to get the train. Aren't they?
Exactly, get the train. So you're playing to no one. It's so disheartening. I remember I played Chinnery's and there was 4 people. One was my dad. You know, it's so disheartening. You think I've lugged all my gear to Southend in my car. You know, I've unloaded it, sound checked. Then you got to wait around for 4 hours while the other band's playing. You're standing watching them. You know, appreciating the music. But then everyone goes, and it's like, why did I bother? Then that's why, thankfully, in the
You
gigs
just
that we
got
do.
pissed off because your dad went home.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. See, I can't listen to this shit anymore. But that's why I'm thankful with this band. Thankful we do get an audience, you know, most of the time, and them days are hopefully behind us. You know, just can't. You just don't want to do it. You know, you just can't bother to deal with that anything anymore.
You've got to take the rough with the smooth, but that is the downside. Quick question though. I mean, in terms of over the years, was you ever close to having a Pinkees reunion? Obviously, before Paul Sandy passed on. But
It was me mainly. I didn't want to do it.
no.
You know, I've always been one to think that I'll never go backwards. You know, I've always been a really positive person. I'll always go forward. I'll never go backwards.
Not like a one-off gig.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
But now it's come out on digital.
I wouldn't say no to a one-off. Yeah.
I think we need to see a one-off Pinkees reunion
But I don't.
of some
it
style.
wouldn't be the same though without Paul.
No.
You know, that's the thing. It wouldn't be.
But
It's a celebration. It could be
It'd be a celebration,
Yeah.
couldn't it? Yeah.
I would love to see it. I generally would.
And, you know, it
You
may
know.
well happen, so don't worry about what Andy says.
Just come and see you do the Pinkees.
He'll be invited. As long as Andy don't have to do any work, he will come along and do it. I know that. So, yeah.
Fingers crossed.
So what's in regards to Beat Patrol, what's your upcoming like gigs looking like then?
What? How many gigs?
What you got upcoming then this year?
Oh, we've got a few, but not like because we've all decided we're only going to do 2 gigs a month maximum.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Because I just don't want to do any more than that, and Paul, the drummer, doesn't want to do any more than that.
Well, again, you've
Steve-
got to lug all your gear around now.
You only have
Stuff
so
like
much
that.
energy. Once
Well,
you get over
that's right.
65, which we all are now,
Yeah.
you only have so much energy,
Yeah.
and you expend a lot of the gig, as you will know.
And you have to
A lot
play
of
for a long
adrenaline goes.
time now compared to what we
It's
do.
2-3 hours, isn't it?
It can be, yeah,
And
2 hours plus.
Yeah, this is where pubs and clubs have got it wrong, I think.
Start at 9, finish at midnight, innit? Like that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
It's a
crazy.
long old set, isn't it?
Or if it's
Yeah.
Chelmsford, start at 10, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
Where's that?
The
Golden
Golden
Fleece.
Fleece.
you
Start
know.
at 10.
One of
but-
our favourite venues.
Well,
but
all
it's-
this at 12.
Yeah,
the Golden
1
Fleece,
o'clock,
yeah,
but the audience
Stewart
there,
Street,
that is,
Stewart Street,
that is a
yeah.
shoulder-to-shoulder venue. You're
Yeah.
guaranteed an audience. So when we play that,
Well, let me know when you're playing there.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Well,
see,
I'll
in a
follow you
social
now,
club,
so-
you don't get that. But you're still open till 12, and everyone goes home at 11 because they've grown up and spent all their life going home at 11 o'clock
Yeah.
at night. And if they leave it any later, it's more expensive in a cab. You know, and a lot of people still have that mentality. They go home, so that's the only thing that I don't like doing about gigs now. Like we do an hour set, we have half-hour break,
Yeah.
and we do hour and a quarter second set.
Yeah.
That's a lot of singing for a singer.
of course it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And our stuff's all up tempo.
And you sing all the songs, don't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's none of our stuff is low tempo.
yeah.
So where's your next like local gig round here?
Billericay.
Oh, where are you playing
next
there?
In the
week,
Con
isn't it?
Club?
Well, you're not in the band. Why am I asking you?
I'm the first reserve bass player.
Yeah, you are.
I'm still in the chat group for the band, so it's
Yeah.
great. I'm still in the band, but I don't have to rehearse or do any gigs. All I do is I sit and snipe.
But no, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
And,
Thank you
Is
for
that
your
it?
interest.
I thought you were going to be here till about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I've got to go home and have, to your place and have my birthday party now. So
Yeah.
That's the after party.
the after party.
I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you guys. We appreciate
And don't forget, download the album.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's a real novelty for us to say that.
And do you know, if we do have a Pinkees reunion gig, you guys are going to be the first to know, and Andy will be the last to know.
Brilliant.
I generally hope that does happen.
Yeah,
I really do.
genuinely.
I mean, obviously we weren't around at the time, but I've always loved listening to the music, so I would love an opportunity
Just
to
one
see you
more
guys
time.
do it.
Just one more.
One gig,
be
you've got to
amazing.
do it.
I don't know.
You don't know. Let's leave it there.
Yeah, that's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But tune in next time.
Lost in a dream, she's the best that I've seen in a long time. Whenever I see her, I panic cause her beauty is so genuine. She walks in the room and the feeling of gloom leaves me standing. Can't get enough of her, just wanna touch her, I'm burning. So save me from loving you. I'm lost in delight. Every day, every night, I start losing the fight. 'Cause I'm gonna be lonely again. Just for your smile, I would crawl for a mile if you wanted. Used to be sensible, now I just lose control, I'm getting excited.